All right, so welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Appreciate everybody being here. My name's Andrew David. This is a high performance call with Blake Newbar and the partner program. Appreciate all you guys being on. So last few days we've been talking about all sorts of topics. Today I wanted to kind of continue that vein. I will be continuing this week. I'm going to do much better, I promise, guys, at mixing in a lot of different perspectives from different professionals of, men and women from all over the world. But I've had a couple of conversations recently with some business owners that I consult, that I do some consulting for, speaking with some of you. And then there's been a bit of talk of people, like there's that little bit of the overwhelm and then stress, just stress in life. And wherever the stress may be coming from, and then I had something that happened today where I was kind of thinking about this topic for a little bit. It's one that I've covered a few months ago, and I was thinking about sharing it at some point coming up. And then I experienced something today that set me off. And I'm pretty laid back. It's difficult to set me off with just about anything. At least to the level that I was feeling earlier. And I had to get up and kind of work on that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about stress today. What it is, how it affects us, how to deal with it, what we deal with on a daily basis, how to recognize that, and how to recognize that affects not just in ourselves, but in others as well. Okay? So, I want to ask, though, to begin with, what do you guys do if you start to recognize that you're walking into a stressful situation? How many of you guys are at the point, I'm currently stressed with Facebook? That is a stress that kind of becomes part of life after a while, right? Stress with different elements of social media, advertising. I was mentioning to someone the other day, I logged into my Facebook at the beginning of this week, and the account was suspended again momentarily. And it was simply me needing to turn on the two-factor authentication. But, I mean, they find ways to keep things stressed, and it is what it is. But stress is something that we have become as a society much more attuned, much more accustomed to, would be a better word, right? The purpose of stress, whether you believe in God or evolution, however you want to work it, the purpose of stress for many, many, many years throughout human evolution was to keep us safe from harm or danger, right? We can all agree with that. We're not in the same world that we were, most of us anyway. I work from home. I don't have to worry about some crazy animal or tribe of something coming into my home and trying to attack me, right? Stress is going to be different. Putting food on the table, even if in those times of life where food may be scarce due to financial reasons, we're still typically in a better situation than hunters and gatherers were years and years and years before. So stress is a totally different thing now. What do you guys do in those moments when you start to feel stress coming on? What do you do to handle it?
Realistically or properly?
What do you actually do? We'll talk about what we should be doing, but really, what happens to you guys when you start to feel stressed? Lisa says pray.
Mantras.
Say again, Ray?
Mantras. I have mantras.
Mantras. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Mantras along the lines of meditation and things like that.
Focused breathing.
Focused breathing. Ernie, did you say something?
I sometimes get flustered. What am I doing? Am I doing this? Am I doing that?
Yeah. So walk away from it. Pray. Share with friends. GB. Here's the fun part, GB. And I'm not making fun of you, but ask is how I started my day. So I know you meant to say assess, but typically what ends up happening is when we start to get super stressed, we end up saying things like asses, we do become out of balance. Exercise, try to solve the problem. Let's see, try to be with the feeling, sit with it. There you go.
Try to push through.
Maria, go ahead, say that again.
To push through, like don't
push through.
Like breathe and then continue. Like okay, Here we go. We can do it.
Humor. Yeah. Deal with it. Take a stress, work through it, figure out a way to make it better, change the things I can. Okay.
Honestly, with the techniques, with many techniques, like to avoid that, I find trying to avoid certain things instead of acknowledging them, just extending the struggle. So if you suppress, for me, it's just like, if, for example, I use a little bit of my physiology and breathing or acknowledging and like, oh shit, I feel tension, or I feel this like, if I don't acknowledge, it just continues way longer.
It does.
So go through it.
And what ends up happening a lot of times, you know, kind of like what Ernie was saying, we do get flustered, right? And we've got to recognize things. And more often than we realize, stress is compounded simply by the things that we say, right? So think about how often you use any one of these phrases to begin with, right? Saying things simply, I'm so stressed out. I'm just maxed out. I can't take the stress for one more minute. I can't take so anxious about this. I can't stand the way that the Democrats or the Republicans or the this or the that or the CDC or, you know, whatever it is, fill in the blank there. Man, this job's killing me. I just can't handle this anymore. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to learn how to do this. I'm never going to be able to accomplish blah. You know, I don't feel like I'm ever going to have enough time, money, sleep, health, friends, family, whatever it may be. B, can you keep an eye on the waiting room? Let people in there. You know, I could really use a drink right now. Man, I could really use a cigarette. Man, I wish I had this. I wish I had that. Right? You know, I'm just not cut out for this. This is too much. Simply saying and perpetrating, which is in all truth, guys, a lie, saying these things over and over and over again creates a stressful situation for yourself, as opposed to looking at it, evaluating, and trying to find a way to work your way through it, deal with it, or just understand it. All right. So here's some things that happen with stress. And this is important. You guys got to understand, too many of you are living with a high level of stress, and it's affecting you in many, many ways. It's going to mess up your concentration, causes headaches, anxiety, anger, stomach problems, fatigue, decreased sex drive, skin irritation, muscle tension, teeth grinding, apathy. These are things that happen that are affecting you. They're affecting your loved ones. They're affecting people around you, right? They're affecting your everyday, how much energy you have, your ability to think. And then when you say certain things, it compounds that. It makes it even more difficult. Struggling in your relationship, there are probably elements of stress from other things that are being brought in there, and the two snowball on top of each other. So what can we do?
Andrew.
First thing to do. Go ahead, Maria.
No, I wanted to say something about the previous slide. That I saw a video, like if you are in constant stress, your brain is going to deteriorate and like have brain damage, literally. And, yeah. But it's one thing that like if you have like stress, a little bit of stress, and then yes. You can use it like as a inspiration to continue like fighting what you're fighting for. Like that's different than having, for example, me when I was in the kitchen, that I was under constant like everyday stress. Like you can develop like mental illness and stuff. So that was it.
There's a big difference, guys, in developing yourself, developing your skills and your ability to overcome a stressful situation and just living with stress. Yeah, cortisol is a catabolic hormone. It screws you up big time. There's a whole lot of things. We've talked about hormones before and cortisol and what it does. But so first thing is try to make the connection between how you are feeling and what's going on in the world around you. Right? Look for those physical warnings. Start to recognize physically what happens. One element of self-awareness that we are not utilizing to its full potential is simply listening to our bodies. Why am I feeling tired? Why am I feeling anxious? What is this that's going on? Because hormones are released, and those hormones used to be, hey, there's a problem, you need to run away. now we can't run away in the same method. I can't just take off when I get frustrated with the business that I'm trying to consult with, or I've got a subcontractor that's doing work for me and I get stressed with them. I can't get pissed and just run away, pull out the axe and throw it. It doesn't work anymore. At least not in the intended way. You've got to learn how to deal with things. So first, try to identify the underlying cause. Sort it into 3 categories. So here's 3 categories for your stress you need to be able to look at. Does it have a practical solution? Is it only going to get better with time? Or is it something I just can't do anything about? How many of you know someone that stresses all the time over things that they can't do anything about? They have legitimately zero control over. How many of you do that?
Time to time. Yes, I do.
Just once in a while, right?
A lot of us, yep.
So,
I'll be honest with you, though. My wife's very good about don't speak things into existence. So I do kind of have that kind of mentality. And I'm also into martial arts. So it's spirit, mind, and body wise. I do try to be one. I don't want to get too zenful there, but you get the idea.
Oh, but it's so important, guys. I don't care where you line up on a spiritual spectrum or scientific. There is an innate connection between our brains and our bodies. And if you want to add in the soul there or your spirit, that's great. They're all connected. And how our brains think and how we react to certain things, our body will then react. I love this. Try to release the worry of those in the second and third groups and let them go. All right, guys, just listen to that. I have forever solved all of your stress problems. If you have something you get stressed on, just let it go.
Andrew, and sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, how many of you have had that conversation? Honey, just stop stressing out about it. Don't worry about it. You can't handle it anyway. Don't worry about it. Perfect thing to do, right? There are ways to handle it. Go ahead, Aga, what?
Is it when somebody tells you don't be angry and you're like, don't tell me how to feel, just like,
yeah.
Stop.
I love when they tell you that you are angry or you are stressed or what's wrong. And there legitimately is nothing wrong, but the more they tell you over and over and over, finally you're like, okay, now the stress is here. Now I'm upset. So dealing with stress, here's the thing, guys, as you're going through this goes back to emotional intelligence. So if you guys really want a great book about emotional intelligence, I've talked about it before. Emotional Intelligence 2.0. This one? Yeah, I'm sitting here. I got a blanket on my leg. Sorry. Emotional Intelligence 2.0. It's a great book for yourself. So you look at self-awareness, self-management, relationships, and, relationship management. Understanding yourself, though, if it comes to maybe you aren't the one that's always stressed out. Maybe it's your partner, right? And what we were just joking about is obviously the wrong thing to do, being able to listen, not trying to fix things for them. Now, there's always that next level, whether it's your partner or yourself. If you guys are experiencing stress at the level that is causing severe anxiety and there is this doubt, I don't know what I'm going to be able to do or if I can ever get out of it, please, by all means, go out and seek professional help there, guys. Don't be ashamed about it. Don't fret about it. There's now so many different elements where you can do it virtually for a very, very reasonable rate. If you are in need of doing that, then please do. Okay. And I just have to say that because I've received some benefits from therapy before. If you're in that state, then by all means seek it out. Stress, though, is one of those things where it's just, guys, it doesn't go away. It's there. So we need to learn how to better ourselves and then deal with it. So a couple of things to do. Review your lifestyle. Here's some questions you can ask. Are you taking on too much? Maybe I should share my screen and this becomes easier, right? So,
Andrew,
first one, could you be taking on too much? Maria, go ahead.
No. A quick thing. I was just reading this thing that, for example, Elon Musk, says that the harder you work, the better your results will be. But there are a lot of people that are like, how do you say, like saying the contrary, you know, like if you surrender yourself and if you work, for example, 50-hour week, like it will be like much, my English sucks today. Sorry. It's not that it is better that you work like 100 hours a week. Is just having the enough amount of hours and like dealing with the stress. Like, I don't know, to connect link dots. Never mind.
Here's the thing about that. And, you know, when it comes to work, it's so personal. You know, that's why you have things like Tim Ferriss, the 4-Hour Work Week. You have people that are trying to retire early. You have people that retire and then feel like they're not contributing enough to life and they wither away because of it, right? You have people that you hear things like an honest day's work, as if that type of work is the only honest way to make a living. There are so many different, and it depends, any quote that you guys hear about work in life, look at the source, where they're coming from, what their background is, and then look at how it would apply to you and what you want to have in your life. And that's an important thing, guys. Much of the stress that you experience is based on these parameters that we have created for ourselves that have been established due to our upbringing, our education, our religious or non-religious backgrounds, your current friends or influential circle that's around you, the significant other that is by your side that takes up X amount of time, or the lack of that, and your physical health, right? Because a lot of the things that are created within those parameters, there's expectations that are put upon us by society, by others. Much of the stress that you guys feel about a program like this or your own business is because you're comparing yourself to what someone else has done, or you've set an expectation that X has to be done by this date. And if it's not, then I'm falling behind. Then I'm not enough. Then something's wrong. Whereas simply the act of continuing forward and maintaining momentum and accomplishing something at every step is progress that's above and beyond 90% of the population. Because too many people are used to and accustomed to just sitting down and rolling through life. So the stress is created because, man, I should be here. At this age, I should have this. Oh, I've been doing this for this long. I should have already done whatever. How many times have you allowed yourself to get stressed out because you've been working out for this long and by now I should have lost an extra 3 pounds? Why doesn't this dress? Why don't these pants fit? We get stressed because our hair goes gray or it falls out, or, you know, you got dental problems, or you got this, you got that. And a lot of it's stuff you have zero control over, and yet the stress pops in because we feel we should have control over it. There are many more things in your life that you have control over than you imagine, but a lot of the things that you think you have control over, you're just fooling yourself, and it's causing you stress. Because there's a disconnect between reality and the vision that you've created. Okay? So, good. Ernie, are you reading now for the first time in 30 years? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, to tell you the truth, I don't even know if I've read a full book, maybe in high school, you know what I mean? But like, I'm ashamed to even say that, but I picked up that cash flow book and I'm on chapter 7. I'm slowly chipping away at it, but
that's the key, man. It's slowly starting to change those things and understanding that control is there, right? And you're talking about with the kids. Go ahead, Aga. Say again.
One of my friends who is genuinely financially free and has sustained that for years. He told me recently that he has read maybe 5 books or less than 10 in his life, and his skill was application. Non-academic books, if he had to pass something, but outside of in his life, he maybe has read 2 Kiyosaki books from emotional intelligence, and I had to ask him about Cures, and he wasn't kidding. So
all of you have the opportunity to educate yourself on a level that previously in this world is just, it's unheard of. We have access to more. It's just the willingness to do it. And then not allowing ourselves to get stressed out over things we have no control over, and then taking control back and putting our hands on things that we should. So, could you be taking on too much? Are there, things you're doing which could be handed to somebody else? Oftentimes the case. You're trying to do too much, especially at home. Can you do things in a more leisurely way? To act on the answers to these questions, you may need to prioritize things, reorganize. Let's see. Here's a couple of things. Triggers. Look at the list, and I can get, if you guys email me, actually we'll do this. Is it B that's on? We'll create an email list, and I'll send out the slides to you guys if you want these. Okay. So, cause I want you to study these triggers. I want you to look at what's here. I want you to spend time thinking about your triggers. What causes your stress? Okay. So stressful job or work environment, driving or traveling, genetics. Sometimes it just happens. And if that's the case, understand, hey, there's just a high level of stress in my family. Maybe I do need to speak to a doctor about it, right? Withdrawal from drugs or certain medications. And that goes like the last one here, caffeine. Too much caffeine or withdrawals from caffeine. You know, anything that you create any kind of dependency on, any kind of addiction, whether it's caffeine, alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, pornography, gambling, video games, I don't care what. But if you have something that's too much of an extreme, that can cause stress. Trauma, phobias, chronic illness, chronic pain, other mental illnesses. Those are huge triggers, but we have a lot of others. So, guys,
Andrew,
give me a quick list.
You have to add siblings on that list.
Yeah, so that's what I want to do real quick, guys. Give me a list and drop it into the chat. I want a list of things that cause stress on a general basis. And if you're brave enough to share some of the things from your own life, that's great. But there are things. So siblings, parents, children, let's be real, cause plenty of stress, right? School right now, whether you're a teacher or not, school right now is an incredibly stressful situation because what the hell are we doing, right? Because that's something that we can't control the school, but we're intimately connected to it because of kids or whatever, right? So driving, lack of money, relationship with money, Maria, is what I would say.
Media is stress.
Media, yeah, media can be a trigger. Okay, biomechanical, yes. Physiological, yep. I-275 and I-4. Gina, are you in Orlando? I'm in Orlando here. Financial hardship, why and how you start your day. Fear, FOMO, fear of missing out. That's what that is, guys. FOMO on social media, right? How to launch the business, unexpected bad news. So there are certain things. Here's the point that I'm getting at. You've got to figure out what your triggers are. Okay? You've got to figure out what your triggers are. Is it, being a perfectionist? Is it being a procrastinator? Where's that fear come from, right? It's the fear of deadlines, sometimes fear of unnatural deadlines we've created for ourselves that just don't make any sense, right? All of these things. Understand what your personal triggers are and start to learn what the triggers are of the important people in your life, okay? So here's something. Stress isn't going to go away. You can eliminate certain triggers. You can absolutely eliminate or incredibly diminish certain triggers. But stress in and of itself is going to be a part of your life. That's just part of human experience. Now, what we do, where we're at here, there's stress. It's how your positive behavioral response. This is what we should learn to do. That decreases the symptoms and improves the mood, and then we have beneficial thoughts, right? Now, whether that's a spouse that's helping you do that, you're learning how to do it yourself. But how you respond to stress is the most important thing. If you want to decrease the symptoms, so what we were talking about earlier, all of these symptoms, you want to start to decrease this, it all depends on your response to the stress. Do I compound it? Do I leave it alone? Do I run away? Do I bury it? Too many of us men will do that. We just bury the stress. We don't talk about it. We're unwilling to share it. Okay, so a couple of quick things that you can do. Be active. Exercise won't make it disappear, but it will reduce some of the emotional intensity. It'll help clear your thoughts and it'll help you deal with things better. It releases positive hormones that will allow that. Take control. Again, of the things that you can control, take control. If you remain passive, well, I just can't I can't do anything about it. It's just going to continue. Connect with people, whether that's a therapist, it's a friend, it is a mentor, something. Sometimes connecting is an important thing. Take some time for yourself, a couple nights a week, right? Ladies, if any of you are still wondering, that's one reason why men spend so much time in the bathroom. It's a simple time to connect and get alone for a little bit. It happens. People like, 30 minutes in there. That's why. So some me time, challenge
45.
yourself. 40, yeah, see? Laugh about it. There's a reason those stereotypes are there. Challenge yourself, continuing to learn and growing, especially when it becomes something like what Ernie was talking about, starting to read, pushing himself through, right? He's been telling himself for 30 years, I don't like books, I don't like reading, and he's finally doing it. It's a step-by-step growth, right? You're breaking through your own barriers. Learn how to do that, guys. It helps you become more emotionally resilient. So when those little stresses come about, it's not as big a deal. Now, one thing you can do, question your thought pattern. Look at the negative thoughts, where they take root, what's happening, why is it distorting the situation? Is it making it bigger than it should be? Challenge the fears occasionally. Reach back out and take control. Now, the practice focused deep breathing. Someone was talking about that earlier, right? Huge help. Sitting down and doing that. And along with the 15 minutes of yoga, breathing, walking, something like that. Spend time doing it. That's part of the Miracle Morning for Entrepreneurs. Under Savers, right? One of those elements is that quiet time, silence. If you don't want to do yoga, if you can sit and stretch, maybe that's prayer. Maybe it's just silence. Maybe it's meditation. Maybe it's going for a walk and communing with nature, getting out in the sun. Okay. Don't be too hard on yourself. Oh, and I got all sorts of comments here. Not ignoring you guys. I just didn't have it up. All right. So we had an ex-housemate taking the shower for 40 minutes every day. That's a whole other conversation. I've been listening to Jim Rohn first thing in the morning while I make my coffee. There you go. Prayer, meditation. Yep. All right. Remember that having a bad day is a universal human experience. It just happens sometimes. But how you react, don't let something that happens mess with your whole day. Deal with it, move on. If you deal with something at work, it's okay to talk about it when you get home, but don't dive into what were we talking about last week? I fully admit on Friday, right, I challenged you guys to not complain for 7 days. I blew the hell out of that today. Absolutely. Absolutely blew it up. So I have to start out again. But then I recognized what I was doing. I sat down. Actually, before I sat down, I've got dumbbells back here behind me. I grabbed them real quick, did a couple reps of a handful of different exercises, did some twists and some stretch, just because I could feel my blood was pumping. Like those hormones were starting to lift my body, and I had to get some kind of release for them. And then I sat down and I started taking some deep breaths. Guys, recognize when you feel these things and work on them, okay? When your inner critic or outer critic finds faults, try and find truth and exception to what's being said. Find truth and exception to the fears and faults that your mind starts to tell you, okay? Don't beat yourself up if you have an obstacle. If you stumble, you fall. Act as if you're your own best friend. Be kind and supportive to yourself. Too many of us aren't doing that. Take a few minutes to appreciate yourself. Those Phoenix moments. You get real stressed, you're having a bad day, anxiety is there, pull out. I gave you guys a challenge a week or two ago to write out your Phoenix moments. So think about those moments where you've overcome something. Pull out that paper or sit and think about those moments. Put yourself mentally and physiologically back into that feeling so you can recognize how powerful you really are. Okay? I asked my family to hold up their hand to show me 5 fingers when I start to complain to help me recognize I'm doing it. And then they just start counting down. Over time, you'll start to develop this, guys. Eustress is the positive stress that can help you perform and overcome. You'll learn to take just about any stressful situation and create something that allows you to benefit. That's when power starts to come into your life. learning how to deal with stress and anxiety, recognizing when it's there, recognizing what's going on, and empowering yourself to deal with it. So, if any of you over the next few days experience something like I did earlier today, take a moment, figure out what the trigger is, understand what you can do, talk to yourself, be your own best friend. I will send out the link for these slides. We'll send it out after this training in a little bit, but I want you guys to identify your own triggers. And then I want you to look at the ones that you can control, the ones you can do something about. And if you can eliminate any of those or at least diminish your contact with them, look at the ones that you have no effect over at all. There's nothing you can do. And then look at the ones where me getting stressed over it right now isn't going to change it. It's just simply going to take time. I believe we've got everybody's emails. So we'll get them out to you. And if you don't want to look at the slides, that's okay. Just pass them along. But guys, take a minute, think about your triggers, think about what you can do, come up with a couple of ideas to deal with each one, no matter the situation. So if getting up and walking out the door and taking a 15-minute walk isn't something that you can do, if you can't just get up and go to the gym, if it's not one of those moments where you go, hey, time for some me time, I'm going to see you in 30 minutes, right? We can't often turn around and do that. You've got to find a way to deal with those. And most of those are going to be mental. Most of it's got to be internal. There's going to be a level of self-awareness that you're going to need. Here's the other thing about this. Sometimes we talk about just the mindset, guys. This stress is the same stuff that your target audience is dealing with on a whole other level. Guys, we'll email it to everybody. I think we've got everybody's email. We'll get you. Your target audience, your business owners are dealing with it. Understanding stress. You want to figure out how to create a brand for yourself or what your marketing message should be or what your headline should be. Figure out what your audience is dealing with their stress. But if you can't figure out how to fix your own, you're going to struggle trying to solve someone else's. Right? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I appreciate you. I hope you guys take some of this to heart. I hope you guys are slowly, little increments every single day, bettering yourselves, lifting yourselves up, and as always, finding a way to rise from the ashes and fly like the phoenixes that you are. Everybody go out and have an amazing day today. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll do a little Q&A after the call. Be awesome, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.